Manager, Rio Ferdinand. Assistant manager, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Me and Ian, bibs and cones, doing the drills, doing the work. I honestly feel...
Again, none of this is cute anymore, okay? Prince Harry is the most hated man in the United Kingdom.
Prince Harry, who has surfaced at several events the last few days without Meghan Markle.
I can't get past the fact that he's walking around pretending like he's something important when nobody has the respect that he thinks he has. Yeah. Nobody respects him like that.
She's trying to reignite the Netflix deal, and I'm hearing the producers there are not loving her ideas.
William's instruction, as ever, William being the writer, right, I would say very, very clever on this. He decided that actually we shouldn't have that sort of thing.
This is such actually a critical fall point, like you said, because when it comes to Harry's children's security, especially, the government had already decided when he was a working royal, they're not getting it.
What came back was something colder, not a punchline. Harry heard the one person in that Fox music studio audience laugh. And within days, he would be picking a fight with a government that had been in office for less than 24 hours.
Prince Harry makes another cringeworthy appearance, trying to show us all that he's just Mr. Nice Guy. Remember Cheeky Chappy? This is on James Corden's World Cup show in Fox in America. But I'm going to show you the real nasty and bitter Duke, who, look at this, briefs to the front page of the weekend's Mirror newspaper.
The setup matters here, so stay with me. James Corden's got Harry sitting across from him on the World Cup show, and he goes fishing. He wants to know if Harry's actually a football man or the other kind of posh rugby cricket polo. And he asks it the way Corden asks everything, with the dig wrapped in a grin. I always thought you went to a school that was too posh to play soccer.
When he was actually asked about that by Corden, watch closely here, he did that weird thing that he thinks is sort of like self-deprecating, but I actually believe is really passive-aggressive, actually, by playing to one person in the audience who he thought was laughing
Harry corrects him straight away. Football. Why are you calling it soccer? Because we're in America, baby. Fine. Laugh. Move on. Corden pushes again. Surely at that school it was rugby. And Harry gives him the line he's clearly pleased with. It was such a posh school that everything was an option. Good answer. Gets a laugh. Nobody would be talking about this if it had ended there.
Soccer fan, I always thought that you went to a school that was too posh to play soccer. Do you know what I mean?
Posh to play football?
Yes.
Why are you calling it soccer?
Because we're in the United States, baby. Yeah, I always thought that you would have gone to a school about rugby, cricket, polo.
I think it was such a posh school that everything was an option.
Yes. Oh, really? So there was a football team?
There was a football team.
Were you any good?
But Corden keeps pulling. Was there a football team? Were you any good? And Harry tells the truth. Prep school, first team. Then he moves up to the bigger school and ends up in the E-team. The E-team. Corden repeats it back. The room goes, and somewhere in that audience, music, one person laughs a little too long. Harry hears it and he stops.
You know what? At prep school, I was in the first team, and then I went to the bigger school, and I ended up in the E-team.
Ah.
Being A-team.
A-team to the E-team.
Yeah. So that didn't feel very...
Yeah.
That's somewhere between 5 and 10 letters.
Yeah.
You found that really funny, didn't you?
No, there's actually nothing funny, because here's the issue. We now know the real Prince Harry, a nasty.
That didn't feel very, yeah. That's somewhere between 5 and 10 letters. Then he finds them. Looks straight at them. You found that really funny, didn't you? Dan Wooten's read on that moment is that it isn't charm at all. Music. His argument is that Harry does this thing he thinks plays as self-deprecating, but it lands as passive-aggressive. That singling out one person for laughing isn't joining in, it's registering it, filing it. And Wooten's point is that it fits. 6 years of a man telling the world he was cast as the family joke. Sitting in a chair being made the joke again live on Fox. You've got the footage. You'll know what you saw because Corden wasn't done.
Aggressive man, a man who wants to bring down his own family, a man who wants to bring down his own government, a man that wants to bring down his own people. So there's actually nothing cute about that when he sees someone in the audience laughing at him and he tries to make a joke. I actually think it shows his quite aggressive side, to be honest.
The next question was the one Harry had known was coming for weeks. The Harry rankings weren't spontaneous. Corden had run the bit before without Harry there, asking a panel who the greatest British Harry actually is. Styles Kane, Music Potter Prince. And the panel, including England legend Rio Ferdinand, didn't put the prince first. Ferdinand's list: Styles at 1, Kane at 2, and then Potter and Prince tied for third. Third equal with a fictional schoolboy wizard. Ferdinand joked they'd settle it with a Quidditch match.
Now, you know, Harry was dragged through this humiliation ritual because on the show a few weeks back, James Corden had joked about who the most famous Harry in the UK was, and no one amongst the famous people there, including the England football legend Rio Ferdinand, put him as number one. So Harry clearly knew that he was going to be asked about this, and it was another opportunity to show that he doesn't have the ego the same size as his Montecito mansion. Watch.
Where do you put yourself?
I'm going to put where I put myself?
In the list of greatest British Harrys. So once again, I want to make sure we're not leaving anyone out. We're going Styles, Prince, Potter, Kane.
Those are the four.
Okay, so there's the four.
Big H.
Where are we? I mean, are you going to be so bold now you're sat in front of the big man?
No,
So, Harry walks into that studio knowing this happened, knowing he'll be asked with weeks to prepare. And it's an easy win. Put yourself last, take the laugh, walk out looking like the most secure man in the building. Corden sets it up perfectly. Where do you put yourself? And he can't do it. Straight into hedging.
Because you couldn't have been
with me at 4.
You
right?
were putting him in 4. He wasn't immovable in 4.
The moment you knew that I was going to be on this table, you say,
Oh, yeah, well, let's talk about it.
Notice where
It's a very good
Carmel
point.
had you. Notice where Carmel had you.
Carmel had you.
My friends were
Yeah,
exactly right. To be honest, I had Harry Potter number 1. When I went away and reevaluated.
So what he should just do is put himself dead last, of course. He can't quite bring himself to.
There's a conflict of interest here. Then he starts working Ferdinand. You couldn't have me at 4. You were putting him at 4. He wasn't immovable at 4. Negotiating a better placement before he's even answered. And when he finally commits, Harry Potter at number 1. Wooten's line. The one thing he should have done was put himself dead last. And he couldn't bring himself to.
Where are you ranking the British Harrys? Go. Number 1.
There's a conflict of interest here.
Go on. Number 1. Be bold. Be bold. Number 1.
Harry Styles.
Styles at 1. Great shouts.
Harry Kane.
Kane at 2.
Wow.
Third equal.
The Potter and the...
You're going Potter and Prince in a split for third.
Yeah. And we'll have a Quidditch off.
That's a great Quidditch. Live on Fox. Quidditch. Live on Fox.
For 100 pages about being cast as the lesser brother. A free shot at laughing it off, and he haggles. Then Corden asked about England. England were out. Everyone in Britain had already decided why. Touchel the tactics. That's the national verdict. And if you're a public figure on television, that's the safe road. Something diplomatic. A shrug. Move on.
Interestingly, Harry was then asked about why England's football team didn't make it through to the final, and he went against the mainstream view that it was the fault of the manager Thomas Tuchel and his strategy, rather suggesting that the players, and this absolutely feeds into it, doesn't it? Everything's about mentality and mental health with Harry, and he suggested that they had some type of psychological weakness.
Corden asks what it would take for England to reach a final. Harry laughs first. Says nobody wants to hear his answer. Says he has to be careful here. He should have stopped because what he says is that it's a mindset. England went 1-0 up against Argentina and fell straight back into defending. Music, it wasn't a tactic. It just happened. And you can't defend a 1-goal lead for 70-odd minutes against a side like that.
What would it take, do you think, for England to get to a final?
Ask him. No one wants to hear my answers.
What do you think? What does it take?
Be very careful what I say here. What's it going to take? I think it's a mindset. I think what we saw.
He knows.
He's right. He's been saying this all day. Yeah, go on.
I think that what we saw was a slight shock value for the team. Shit, we're 1-0 up against Argentina.
So the problem wasn't the manager. It was the players' heads. That's a choice. That's a man going against the entire national mood to suggest the England squad were psychologically weak. And Wooten's answer was 2 words. Bore off. If there's one man on earth he'd never take psychological advice from, he said, it's Prince Harry.
And then there was this immediate temptation to fall into defense. I don't think it was a tactic. I don't think that was the plan. It just happened. And you can't, in 72, 73 minutes, however long it was, try to defend a 1-0 lead against a team like that. You just can't. So I think if the mindset is the belief, is the fact that if you are 1-0 up, believe that you can be 2-0 up.
You need to come on my podcast.
Seriously, bore off. If there is one man I will never take psychological advice from in the world, it's Prince Harry. But this outing was all about James Corden trying to do his good friend's PR as usual.
But Tom Sykes at The Royalist had the sharper version. He called it the most podcast bloke sentence in the English language. 6 years of Harry the sensitive soul. Harry who journals. Harry who processes. Harry who music has discussed his trauma on every streaming platform. Going now on Fox. Beer on the table. Diagnosing a football team's mentality. Your comments were less polite.
Once Thomas Tuchel steps down in 2 years' time after the Euros, what about this? Manager, Rio Ferdinand. Assistant manager, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Me and Ian, bibs and cones, doing the drills, doing the work. I honestly feel...
Again, none of this is cute anymore, okay? Prince Harry is the most hated man in the United Kingdom, or the most hated celebrity, at least, in the United Kingdom.
One of you just called it word salad. And here's what nobody connected at the time. This man relaxed, joking about Quidditch, lecturing a national side on resilience, was days away from picking a fight with the British government. The timeline is the story.
Any of these jokes just fall flat because there's no acknowledgement of how he turned on the country and its people. Much of Harry's desperate bid to link himself to football, of course, is because of the jealousy that he has of Prince William. It is worth noting, and I first revealed this news many weeks ago, that Harry was not invited to one game.
Saturday, the 11th of July, Hirove, Charles and Camilla host tea. Harry's there, and so reportedly are Meghan, Archie and Lilith. First time in 4 years. One source called it emotional. Both men hoped to arrange another. That's the picture the world got. Reconciliation. A father and a son. Here's what happened next. The following weekend, front page of the Sunday Mirror. Royal editor Russell Myers. Prince Harry is continuing his campaign for taxpayer-funded security in the United Kingdom. Not considering continuing.
You might see the sort of happy-go-lucky Harry and his team might be briefing, oh no, the battles are over. But that's not the reality, as this article proved, Brittany. Because Russell Myers, the royal editor of the newspaper, says that Harry is determined to pursue his battle with the Home Office. So remember, Brittany, what that actually means. That means going back to war with the King's government just today. In the United Kingdom.
The piece lays out his diary. September, music, back for the Wellchild Awards, Birmingham 2027 for Invictus, and he's hopeful the family can come. More meetings with his father, the children getting to know their grandfather, and running underneath all of it, he intends to keep lobbying the Home Secretary. He had already sent them a report from his private security firm claiming he's a terror target. That report then found its way to ITV's Chris Shipp. Wooten's reading. He didn't get his answer fast enough, so he leaked it. And according to the Mirror's own sources, the Home Office was not happy.
Sources have revealed Harry wants to arrange further meetings with his father to allow him to spend time with his grandchildren he has hardly seen since the Duke and Duchess quit their roles in 2020 and moved to the United States. Harry is set to return to the UK in September for the annual Wellchild Awards, a charity he has supported for many years, becoming a patron in 2007. He will also be at the 2027 Invictus Games in Birmingham and is hopeful his family will be able to accompany him. So confirmation there, Brittany, that he wants to do the big unveil of Archie and Lily's faces at the Birmingham Games next year.
Officials suggested Harry announced his itinerary specifically to force their hand, to make saying no politically expensive. Music. Then comes the detail that proves this wasn't a leak at all. Meghan's UK spokesman went on the record. Liam Maguire named quoted, saying the Duke continues to make the case that his family face an enduring security risk by virtue of the circumstances of his birth, that the threats from his working royal years didn't vanish when he stepped back, that they remain, and the latest threat assessment proves it. That's not gossip, that's a press operation. Now the timing.
Because there's always a catch. There's always a catch. Harry now plans to continue to lobby the Home Secretary to complete an urgent review into his security after he sent the department a report from his private security company claiming he is a terror target. And then, by the way, leaked it to Chris Shipp of Woke ITV. So he didn't let the process play out. He didn't get what he wanted immediately, so he leaked said report. Sources suggested the Home Office was further angered by Harry's plan, suggesting the Duke announced his itinerary in the hope of forcing the government to grant them security, which was removed when the Duke and Duchess left their royal roles in 2020.
The very next day, King Charles received a new Prime Minister at Buckingham Palace. Starmer out, Andy Burnham in, a government hours old. The Sunday Mirror leans left. In Westminster, they call it the Labour Bible, which means Harry or his people chose that paper on that weekend to lean on a government that hadn't started yet. His father's government, the Mirror did print a critic, and Norman Baker is the one who actually cuts. Former Privy Councillor wrote a book on royal finances. Baker says the security question has been examined exhaustively and independently, and Harry simply won't accept the answer. Then he adds the bit everyone skips. This isn't about who pays. Harry wants armed protection. Music and private security in Britain cannot carry firearms. That's not budget. That's law. And his closure is hard to shake.
The Labour government was not happy with the way that Harry dealt with this. Neither the Palace or the Sussex's team have revealed the details of the meeting with the King, apart from the fact that it took place on Saturday, July 11, where Charles and Camilla hosted them for afternoon tea. I mean, again, that's, I believe, a mistake on the part of the Daily Mirror, because, of course, we were told, at least, if you believe it, that the meeting took place the day before. One source described the meeting as emotional, and both the King and Harry hope to arrange a further gathering in the future. But Brittany, then we get confirmation that this is an officially briefed piece, because a spokesman for the Duchess of Sussex, that is the UK-based Liam Maguire, really his only PR professional, goes on the record within the piece.
He finds it bewildering that Harry is this frightened in the United Kingdom, one of the safest countries on earth, while living in America, where he says gun deaths are 10 a penny. But the strongest argument against Harry came from Harry's own trip. Nobody saw Meghan. No photographs, no video, nothing from outside the small approved royal press pool. Those Range Rover convoy clips going around social media turned out to be old footage. Some commentators took that as a reason to question whether she came at all. Wooten went the other way, and his version does more damage. Of course, she could arrive unseen.
The threats that existed while he was a working member of the institution did not simply vanish when he stepped back from official duties 6 years ago. They remain, and the most recent threat assessment underscores the continuing nature of those risks. In fairness, the Daily Mirror did get a critic of Harry. They spoke to Norman Baker, a former Privy Councillor, author of the book on royal finances, Royal Mint, National Debt, to provide the opposing view. He said Harry needs to accept that the question of his security has been considered exhaustively and independently, but he refuses to accept the answer. The issue, I think, is not who pays, but that he wants security personnel with guns, and that is not possible with private security people in this country. It bewilders me that he is so worried about security in the UK, generally a pretty safe country, but not about the USA, where gun deaths are 2 a penny.
Britain doesn't have America's paparazzi culture. The regulation is strict. When a celebrity gets snapped here, it's usually luck. Or they tipped someone off themselves. So Meghan and 2 children entered the country, reached a royal residence, spent time with the king, and left. No convoy chased them. No photographer found them. Nothing happened. Which raises the obvious question. If a family can move through Britain that invisibly, where's the emergency?
This whole argument that Harry is proposing is just something that is unable to get through his very, very thick, very, very dim, skull, that he's not going to get this. This is a done deal. Like, there is no going back. You left. The security is gone. And I'm sorry, maybe you have delusions that everybody is after you, but the government has looked at this exhaustively and has found nothing. There is literally nothing.
Brittany at the Royal News Network put it flatly. They came, they saw Charles, they had private, music, time, they went home, no hitch. That trip should have reassured him. He used it as a launch pad instead. She made the point about the children, too. The one that keeps coming up in your comments. That decision was taken in 2019 when Archie was born, while Harry was still a working royal. Nothing's changed since. And even full-time working royals like the Princess Royal don't get round-the-clock protection. They're covered on engagements.
I mean, Dan, this is such actually a critical fall point, like you said, because when it comes to Harry's children's security, especially, the government had already decided when he was a working royal, they're not getting any. And that was a decision made back in 2019 when Archie was born. And none of the circumstances have changed since. There is no reason to extend security to Archie or Lily. They are constitutionally irrelevant. And Harry will become soon constitutionally irrelevant, as well as the Wales' children have children.
Settled years ago, he just won't hear it. Now, the contrast that makes all of this land. There was another royal on a podcast that month, and he went first. July 3rd, Prince William walks onto new heights with Travis and Jason Kelce, two enormous, extremely goofy American football players whose show is not famous for restraint. And William is superb in it. They open with a trap. America's turning 250. Are you surprised we made it? Given the entire point of 1776 was getting shot of his family, that could have gone wrong 4 different ways. He doesn't blink. There were times, he says. Then he turns it.
William engaging with the Kelce brothers.
For all the English fans that have come over or are coming over for the World Cup, what do you think the biggest culture shock is?
Oh, good question.
Is it the light beer?
Yeah, the beer definitely is going to taste different, I think, for all of them. I think you haven't met your match. You've seen a lot of beer drinkers from the UK. We can handle our own beer to anyone.
He'd like to think the UK and the US have been together for those 250 years. Jason calls it a good brotherhood. Done. They ask what'll shock English fans at the World Cup. The light beer, obviously, but really the scale of the stadiums. They ask how America gets a proper chance, and he doesn't lecture them. They already have the passion. He says American football, baseball, basketball. They just need to attach it to the right sport. Then he gives them something real. His weekend is either the best in the world, or he doesn't want to see a soul on Monday morning. Music, and it lasts for days. That's a man talking about something he loves.
But I think the scale of your stadiums, I think the size of them is really going to be quite a culture shock for a lot of fans. We really know our football, so to see stadiums that are bigger and kind of an amazing atmosphere that we can also emulate here, that's quite a big deal.
One of the things that stands out to me, I've talked about this a lot, the United States, we lack the veracity of soccer chants, like the tenacity and passion. And one thing that the UK has down is soccer chants. How do we get that in the US?
It's a good point. I think you guys have so much passion already in terms of your American football, your baseball, basketball. Those are massive parts of your cultural heritage. And I think trying to create that same tribalness around football would be really useful. You know, my weekend goes from being either the best weekend in the world when we win, or to frankly, I don't want to see anyone on Monday morning because I'm really down.
Yeah.
And that lasts for quite a few days. So, you guys get that in other ways, but I think if you can attach that to football as well, or soccer, then you get it.
Scott Rouse caught something in that clip most people wouldn't. Every time William answers, he puts Britain in front. You have American football. We know our football, our chance. He never talks about himself. He talks about his country and lets you draw the conclusion. Rouse's verdict, that's how it's done. Now put Harry's podcast next to it. Harry went on with Joe Marlor. And what he did there, there's no polite way round it, was a conversation about body hair, grooming routines, upstairs, downstairs, and middle stairs. What's going on around the back? A comparison involving the eye of Sauron and language throughout that we can't repeat here. Rouse didn't hold back. He said he'd been trained not to talk that way, that he wouldn't put anything on the internet his mother couldn't listen to, that it's the lowest humor there is. His sharpest point was about who's watching. Harry's audience is overwhelmingly women. Rouse reckons he's one of about 7 men following any of it. Harry knows that, and talks like that anyway.
He says part of that in a speech he gives as well. I've done two videos, one on the speech he gave at the Sport 100 thing, Time 100, whatever, and then one on this podcast. And it's just the same thing. That's his go-to. Yeah, he just lets that go. And then starts that thing with his hand and does all his illustrating and all that. And he gets all serious because he knows what he's going to say. He's practiced it. He's rehearsed it. He's said it 1,000 times. It's part of his sales pitch for that thing. So it's not a big deal to him. That's why it sounded real. And that's probably that little section there is probably the only real part of this whole thing.
Then Kinsey Schofield landed the one that stings. She went back through other New Heights episodes to check whether the Kelseys are always that clean. They're not. They can be filthy. They just weren't for William because they respected him. And plenty of you in the comments claim something else about the Marlor episode, that Harry contacted them, that he invited himself on. Unconfirmed, but it fits the pattern, doesn't it? William does a podcast in July. Harry does a podcast in July. William does a football show. Harry does a football show. One of them gets asked, which brings us to New York, the Time 100 Sports Gala. Harry walked the carpet alone. Meghan hadn't been photographed in roughly 2 months. He joked to the photographers that they were the most polite he'd ever met. He spoke about Invictus. An insider told Page 6 he was telling guests his father's doing well despite the cancer, and he collected an award.
Prince Harry, he surfaced at this Time 100 event. He walked the red carpet, and let me tell you what's going on. So he made a special appearance at Time 100's most influential people in sports. So he did not make the list of the 100 most influential people, but he did make the most influential in sports, I guess because of his work with the Invictus Games. Now, on the red carpet, he joked with photographers, saying they were the most polite photographers he had ever met. Now, during the event, he took the stage to deliver a speech about the Invictus Games. That makes sense. An insider told Page 6 that Harry was overheard telling guests at the gala that his father is doing great despite his cancer battle. Now, he allegedly said that Meghan was happy and back home in California. I don't know. I feel like there's some trouble in paradise.
Here's the sharpest criticism in all of this, and it's got nothing to do with tone or language. Real royals present awards. They don't receive them. That comment ran through every single comment section, and it's the one that's genuinely hard to argue with. The whole function of a working royal at a ceremony is to hand something to somebody else and put the light on their work. Schofield said it outright. It's vanishingly rare for a royal to accept an award because the optics are shameless. Rouse's read on the speech itself was that Harry looked bored, tripping over words that mattered, gesturing low and flat instead of emphasizing anything. All the familiar tics, stepping backwards when he's unsure, the hand vanishing into the pocket, fiddling with his shirt on the way out. His conclusion. Harry had barely read it beforehand. It's the same material he's given 100 times, and the rooms willing to book him are getting fewer. Your commenter's music went further. Several pointed out the billionaire connected to Time also has ties to BetterUp, the company that made Harry a chief impact officer. Their music read. That wasn't recognition. That was a favor. And then quietly, something else music happened. Neil Sean reported that photographs of Harry and Meghan have been taken down at royal residences open to the public. Highgrove, music Balmoral. On William's instruction, he says somebody spotted one of those pictures a while back, and it caused a stir. And William's view was simple. Why should people who opted out get free publicity on the walls?
Places like Kensington Palace, Buckingham Palace, Hampton Court, you think, oh, it's all going on in here, you know, this sort of thing. Now, of course, you have private royal residences that are still open to the public for certain periods of the year, including the wonderful Highgrove. I could recommend that, genuinely. I've been on that tour and I've been privately as well, I might add, with Joan Rivers, in fact. And what was lovely there was the gardens. They are amazing. You do kind of think, oh, wish I could do something like this. You know, that's the thing. You look around and think, wow. Now, what I can tell you is that, as we know, Markle and Harry, along with his 2 children, went along to meet for 47 minutes plus with the king. And it was all, we all know the story. It was a bit of a nightmare, you know, as you can imagine. But I thought the king played a bit of a blinder.
Sean sources that to a contact, not the palace. So take it as his reporting, but he added his own claim that the removal did not go unnoticed in Montecito. Your response wasn't complicated. It was the biggest reaction across every video on this story. Good. And then instantly the follow-up. Thousands of you, same demand. Get them off the website because that part hasn't happened. They're still there on the official royal site next to the working members of the family. And your argument is that the site is meant to record duties carried out for the crown, and they don't carry out any. Pictures on a wall are symbolic. The website is the record. So where does it stand? September, back for Well Child, Birmingham 2027 for Invictus, and he hopes the family will come, which would mean the first public look at both children. The Daily Mail case is lost. He still hasn't said whether he's appealing. Reporting suggests his side's insurance covers a fraction of the costs. That decision is just sitting there. And the security campaign rolls on against a Home Office that feels maneuvered, in a country where what he wants isn't legally available to private citizens, with a brand new prime minister who has considerably bigger problems.
If Harry had any agency or any input, would he be in California, an hour from Hollywood, which is the capital of entertainment on the planet? Would he be neighbors with Gwyneth Paltrow and Oprah Winfrey? I don't think so.
Yeah.
You know, if Harry had agency, it would have been a different lifestyle. We know that Charlotte Griffiths has revealed that Meghan pretended to be looking at houses in South Africa after Megxit because she knew that's what Harry wanted. And then, surprise, surprise.
Lee Cohen called it the fault line. Welcome them back without conditions, and the monarchy takes the damage. Wooten aimed higher. The king wants his son back, music, and hasn't reckoned with what's coming through the door with him. And the man who inherits that isn't Charles, it's William. Music, 2 clips on screen, the full ranking exchange. Watch Ferdinand's face and the William podcast. If you want the difference in about 90 seconds, music, tell me in the comments what you saw in that laugh. Good sport or something else. Click 1 and I'll